So Linera, our goal is to really bring to the world this new kind of decentralized infrastructure that we're building that's optimized for real-time performance, high scalability, and easy interoperability. So easy integrations, creating those super connected applications, connected with services, connected with other blockchains, and we want all that to be super fast.
GM. Today, I'm joined by someone who is at the forefront of blockchain innovation. His name is Mathieu Baudet, founder and CEO of Linera. Mathieu's background in cryptographic protocols, his experience at Meta working on Libra, and his deep understanding of distributed systems have positioned him uniquely to solve one of Web3's biggest challenges, scalability. Linera introduces us a novel concept of microchains aiming to bring Web2 level speed and scalability to decentralized applications while preserving security and decentralizations. This is BlockHunters Voices, the podcast with cool kids from the blockchain space. I'm Ioachim Viju, your host. Mathieu, welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. I usually like to start from the beginning. So can you share us a little bit about your journey leading up to the founding of Linera?
Yeah, for sure. So I started Linera, I guess, just after leaving Facebook Meta, where I was a software engineer and a researcher for many years. And in particular, I had the opportunity to join the blockchain project of Facebook, which was called Libra initially, and then Diem as one of the founding engineers. I had a great time there. Started working on the core consensus protocols, so the core blockchain protocols of the project, and then on some research that eventually turned into Linera. And so Linera I started beginning of 2022, got funded, and here we are. We have a testnet, and we're getting ready to go to market in 2025.
And what exactly inspired you to transition from Meta and your work to Libra, on your work on Libra to starting Linera?
Yeah, so a number of factors. So first, when I was before Facebook, I was working in a startup in France, and so I was more like a manager in the startup, and that I guess it gave me the appetite for two things. One was to go after so I was a manager, and I was relatively technical, but I was missing coding. So after that, that's why I joined Facebook. I wanted to work on big systems and be challenged as an engineer, and really learn, more. And the other thing that inspired me, I was like, oh, I really liked working in a startup, and I was like, I totally want to start a startup someday, create a startup someday, and be a founder, which I wasn't there. And so inside at Facebook, I worked on a number of projects. I feel like I was always trying to start something, and so there's the culture inside Facebook, at least at the time, was very engineering driven. So you could have engineers coming up with an idea, like identifying a problem, coming up with a solution, and starting basically working on it on their own, and then finding help in their team or in other teams very organically, and kind of creating a small team bottom up, or a small project bottom up at the time, which I thought was really cool. And I was trying to do that basically my whole time and at Facebook. So essentially trying to be in startup mode within a big tech company. And that's not something that it's not the only company to allow you to do that. But then after a while, I thought it's not exactly like a startup. Obviously, you don't necessarily have the same upside and then the same, you're still in the big tech company. Sometimes you feel it. So I was definitely super motivated after many years in a big tech company. I was just really looking forward to start my own project, and the opportunity happened, like arise from the research I did at Facebook, and it was a really cool protocol, providing us with providing a solution for the first time to handle payments, so decentralized payment, low latency payments, in a horizontally scalable way. So at any scale, it was a really cool protocol. It was also kind of simple. It was called FastPay, by the way. So it was it was a very nice protocol, a very nice academic paper, and I started finding generalizations, and I didn't have the microchains there yet, but I thought we're onto something. So Linera, studied Linera, got funded, and then that's where we finished the design and came up with the current architecture.
But how was life before Web3 and now full time in Web3 as a founder? I mean, you took things to another level.
I started Web3 at Facebook, though. So I was already in Web3 before starting Linera, obviously.
No, but before, when you were a manager, because you said you were a manager.
So I was in France before Facebook. It was good. I mean, it was a small startup. I was still early in my career, and it was interesting. At the time, there was not so many startups in Paris. There was not so many big tech companies also in Paris. It was in the 2010, 2011. And so I think things are very different now. A lot more structures are there.
Mm-hmm. But tell me, Mathieu, for those unfamiliar, how would you describe Linera and its mission?
Right. So Linera, our goal is to really bring to the world this new kind of decentralized infrastructure that we're building, that's optimized for real-time performance, high scalability, and easy interoperability. So easy integrations, creating those super connected applications, connected with services, connected with other blockchains, and we want all that to be super fast. So that's what we're optimizing for. And the core concept that we're developing is the notion of microchain, which essentially is lots of unlimited number of small chains that we're running in parallel in one set of validators, which is very new and very different from what other infrastructure are doing.
The blockchain space is filled with many scalability solutions. What makes Linera's approach unique?
Yeah, so exactly what I was saying. So the microchain approach. So and to double click on this, when other systems work with large blocks, so like blockchain, from the name you can see, it's based on the concept of chains of blocks. Okay, and so blocks are made of the transactions that are sent by the user. So the users are sending commands to the chain. They want to modify something. They want to start a transfer. So at the given time, all the users in traditional system are going to submit their commands, submit their transactions to the system, and the system, the blockchain is going to be in charge. The validators are going to be in charge of essentially creating blocks, packing those transactions into large blocks, and then making those blocks into a chain of blocks. Most systems are based on a single chain with very large blocks. A few systems are proposing to have what they call app chains, so they have a few chains of blocks, but still with large blocks. And the idea of a large block is because that's how you get the performance, the transactions per second. You generally kind of limited in the frequency of the blocks, the block per second the number of blocks that you can create per second. It's always going to be a few blocks per second, but people are trying to pack more and more transactions in there. At Linera, And so the problem with that is that it's making the system very very heavy. All those chains, the blocks are very heavy, and so the what we're doing in Linera is, instead of having a chain with very large blocks, a single chain with very large blocks, we're doing the opposite. We're having a very large number of chains with tiny blocks, and they're all running in parallel. And in fact, we're really optimizing for that. So for like being able to create those new threads of execution, those new tiny chains of blocks anytime, and we specialize them. So for a given user, we will encourage them to have their own tiny chain where they store their assets. If two users want to play a game of chess, same thing. We encourage the applications to be structured in a way that the two users will play chess on their own chain for this particular game of chess. So imagine I'm making a move that creates a tiny block in our game chain. Then you create a move that creates another tiny block. When we're done with the game, then the chain is essentially closed, and then the result goes back to the leaderboard, or like the main application, the main chain for the application, which also could be outside of Linera, by the way. So very different system, and so it's pretty interesting to create this from the bottom up with like completely different assumptions from the start.
So basically, like a TLDR is that with the concept of microchains, you achieve real-time interactions with fast scalability while maintaining decentralization.
Yeah, that's correct. And the intuition is like, because you have these tiny blocks in like very specific chains, so a chain that is specialized in one particular task, the system knows how to replicate those blocks where they on the client side. So now in this tiny chain of playing chess, so I have the blocks of this game, you have the blocks of this game, the validators, and this is all synchronized in real time, instead of having to synchronize large blocks or to use API providers and indexers that are adding security trade-offs and latency.
And what role do validators play in Linera's architecture?
Yeah, so validators, obviously, they in every blockchain, they are the backbone of the system that is guaranteeing the security. And they're all working together, adding a layer of redundancy and decentralization, so making sure that nobody has the power to corrupt the on-chain data. And of course, in Linera, we rely on them also for the scaling. The design of Linera also is interesting and asks validators to be elastic down the road, so that they can handle as many chains in parallel as possible. But that's the software that we are writing.
You could only imagine that this is a topic that is very interesting for us as validators. So that's why I'm always eager to learn more about how blockchains see the validator's role, because some other L1s don't really care about the validators so much and don't really see them very important. You can see we have this meta right now when a lot of blockchains are starting with their own validators. So
okay,
yeah.
Yeah, well, it works for a sort of testnet or a very centralized version that is hopefully very temporary.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the maximum validators that you want to have?
Yeah, so look, I mean, it's a very interesting question. There are different factors. My thinking is that we also, I mean, people we want, you gotta be reasonable on the side of the operational cost. So Linera, we've got this real-time system that's going to be processing a massive number of transactions per second. All the transactions are executed by each of the validators. So if you have 50 validators, like compared to a single centralized system, you are at the very least you're paying 50 times the operational cost. I think that's okay. That's the right trade-off. But I wouldn't want this number to become like thousands, because then it's starting to be like really a lot of money. And the experience shows that they really want to pay the lowest fees possible. So the number of validators in Linera is going to be sufficient to be competitive in terms of Nakamoto consensus number. And honestly, that 50 is already relatively sound. So maybe we'll go to 100, and then I think that's fine. Yeah. And of course we can always revisit. But that's the current assumption.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you started a testnet, because everything will make sense after the testnet is finished. I mean, it's kind of too early to exactly know, or to have answers to all the questions.
But definitely our goal is to be state of the art in terms of decentralization. So having like the lots of chains that are actually not infinitely scalable have about the same number of validators as what I described. So that seems to be the right number to start with.
Let's talk a little about smart contracts and the whole developer experience, because I know you guys leverage WebAssembly for smart contracts. Why was this chosen over alternatives like EVM?
Yeah, so we wanted the freedom. I think the main... Well, first, our team, we are all Rust engineers. And so we're really passionate about the language, and we thought like, that's a language that's just... why not just use the language for smart contracts? There's no reason it wouldn't work just fine. WebAssembly also is a very interesting standard that exists outside of the blockchain industry and is used in cloud computing, and so it has its own traction, its own life, and is technologically very interesting. But it supports more than Rust, by the way, as input language. So you could, in principle, you could already write smart contract in any WASM supported language in Linera without even asking our permission. You could, TypeScript, Python. Some of those languages could very well become a standard in crypto plus AI, for instance. So it's relatively future-proof to have this option. And then at the same time, we also we're also looking into supporting the EVM and giving we just started that project to give the option for developers to write in Solidity and maybe import existing code into Linera. Our goal is not to be we're always going to be Linera has its own philosophy to develop Web3 application. Our goal is not to be just like another EVM, faster, cheaper EVM chain, but people do appreciate the possibility to use existing Solidity code, so we are going to make that possible.
Thank you for this. And tell me, how do developers deploy applications across multiple microchains, and what tools does Linera provide for the state management?
Yeah, so I describe Linera as a system with an unlimited number of parallel microchains. Possibly, you have one microchain per user, one microchain for each game of chess, one microchain for each micro auction. You have all those chains. Obviously, they communicate all the time. That's how the system works. There's a messaging system that is very cheap and very fast between the chains. So that's one element of the programming model of Linera. But the other element is the ability for chains to share data, because in Linera, contrary to historical multi-chain like sharded systems like Cosmos, in Linera, all the microchains, they have the same validators and the same security level, the same finality, and in fact, they share the same applications. So every application, when you upload an application on one chain of Linera, it's instantly available to the other chains. And in fact, there's a chain can send messages. An application running on one chain can send messages to another chain, and the same code that created the message is processing the message, is receiving the message on the other side. So the primary model of Linera is fundamentally cross-chain. Applications are multi-chain by default in Linera. They happen everywhere. And the chains also share data. So we really really take advantage of this architecture of the system where the chains live in the same validators. We take advantage of this to create additional programming primitives to extend the programming model of Linera way beyond cross-chain messaging.
You know, in crypto we have all these UX challenges, and I wanna know, when you are designing these microchains, what could be the UX challenges?
Yeah. And that's something that we've really looked into since the very beginning. The main challenge when you write user interfaces for crypto applications is that they look very different. They work very differently from normal Web 2 applications, and they're slow. Also, they are very slow. I think the most infuriating experience is that you start a transfer and the system tells you, okay, we send the transfer. It's gonna happen sometime. Just wait 5 minutes. And in the meantime, if you have a balance, like if you wanted to track your balance, everything it's just not updated, or the application has to sort of guess what the new balance might be, but it's not a number that is really trustworthy. They are just making some assumptions that you're the only one making a transfer from that account at a given moment or something. So the way Linera works, and then also another problem is the numbers. Yeah, in general, the numbers that you displaying in the UI in most frameworks, they come from API providers. So you usually not on the client side, you usually don't have a good way to verify the data sent by the API providers. In Linera, we kind of turning things on their head entirely, and changing the way the client side of the applications are coded. The way we do that is by leveraging microchains again, because microchains are designed to be only encapsulating the state that you care about as a user. You don't care about the microchain of the other users. You only want the few microchains that you're working with at a given time. So there's one microchain that is maybe your own chain that is storing your assets. Maybe there's a few chains you are using for playing chess or something else. So only those few chains are going to be concerning you, and because they are small, we can replicate them locally in the browser extension. So now what's nice is that you have a tiny full node for all those chains that you care about locally in your browser, and we are making all the work to make that fully executed. So we also work to using the WASM VM of the browser. We making sure that you not only you replicate the blocks, but you also execute them. And that means that you are going to be able to use your local replica of the chains as a local API provider that is trusted and can answer any question that the UI needs to answer, and with very low latency, without paying anything. And that's really so the UI in Linera can talk to a local state that's been replicated for it, and can subscribe to changes, can be notified when something changes. So, and the beauty of that design is that when you talk to this local data provider, you can use Web 2. It looks like a Web 2 system. So working in Linera, you can use React.js, you can use any reactive framework out of the box. You talk in GraphQL, could also be JSON. You talk to the local system as if it was a normal server.
I think the keyword for 2025 is microchains from what I'm talking with you.
All right, I like it.
You launched testnet in Q4 2024. What have been the major milestones and learnings from this phase?
Yeah, so launching the testnet has been obviously a lot of work, but and that's where we started working with validators. So it's been a really good experience, very interesting journey so far. We working on the next version of the testnet right now, and yeah, getting ready for a launch But yeah, it's gonna, of course, we still increasing the size of the team and getting ready. But yeah, the testnet is always a big milestone in the life of a blockchain project, for sure.
Exactly. What are the biggest technical challenges that team face during this time of period?
I mean, like it's always when you work in infrastructure, you putting stuff into production. So going from the research idea to the first prototype to the devnet and then to the testnet. Of course, there's a lot of technical challenges just on the engineering side. You really make sure for instance, that you really need to make sure that the reporting the reporting is done well, that people have all the logs, all the monitoring that's needed to maintain things like in working condition all the time, making sure that the servers are working and everything is always nominal. And then, of course, performance optimization. And then we also, of course, still working on the protocol. There are still lots of extensions that we want to bring to mainnet that we're working on, adding new features, developing some of these new ideas that I was mentioning, the programming model based on microchains. I don't know. One example, for instance, is allowing, if we want to support social applications in Linera. So I have two users. As a user, I want to use my microchain to manage news feed. So, and that's a really good idea. I mean, it maps really well with the model of microchain. So you give every user, you give them the microchain, and then they're gonna post status updates. So post in their news feed by creating tiny blocks in their own chain. That works really well, but that works well. But then you need you would like your followers, to be able to see that you created content in your chain. So we are working on that, for instance.
But if I am a developer, let's say, and I want to get involved in testing and build on in around testnet, where can I reach out? What can I do? Visit the website, visit the community.
Yeah, you can find us on Discord. So it's starting to be a massive operation, actually. Lots of people on Discord. We have a channel for developers. Make yourself known there. You can ask questions. And the questions are, the engineering team is usually responsive. But otherwise, the moderators are going to notify us. And so we're always very happy to interact with the new developers and help them.
Thank you for this. What I really want to know, who is Mathieu? And I'm not talking about the founder, not the creator. Okay. Who are you at the core, man?
I don't know. I'm a French engineer living in the United States. No.
Is it better to live in the United States? More opportunities for Web3. I know New York is like a great city for BD.
So I lived in California for a very long time, obviously, because that's where the Facebook headquarters were. I recently moved to New York. I like it. It's a big city. Reminds me of like Paris on steroids a little bit. So I knew what to expect. New York is great. It's really good for obviously for work. In my case, meeting other founders, investors, lots of energy in the crypto community in New York.
A lot of crypto people live in New York, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the state of the market because,
okay,
in crypto, the highs are euphoric and the lows can be brutal. How do you handle emotions in a high-stress environment?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes crypto founders they reflect on their life and they feel it's a bit harder, substantially harder than other domains. I don't know. I mean, I think when you work in deep tech, and so that might be the case also for AI. So you're already working on the frontier of tech. And so you a bit, of course, the applications are a bit further along compared to traditional startups. And that can be, that creates a lot of uncertainty in everybody's mind, founders, but also investors. And so as an engineer, deep tech obviously is super interesting. You work on those amazing technical problems, and you can find investments. You can get funded to work on those very interesting problems. So from a point of view, an engineer is great. But then, of course, yes, you depend on the funding. You depend on the market, on the investment market, to continue the project, and things can change. Suddenly, there's a new narrative, and so founders have been reacting to the narrative, and sometimes they feel like they're always trailing. In our case, we've been really doing.
And they change the narrative.
Yeah, and so you're seeing some people that are really gifted at fundraising based on narratives. Well, I guess it's good for them. But then sometimes it's not like they have like a particularly original idea. The timing was just good for fundraising. So in our case, we've been really trying to create something new. For me, I want to spend time, on meaningful technology that really creates something new. And so that's what we've been working on since the beginning. I think if you stick to your value and to something you already feel passionate about, that's just way easier.
How do you? This just came into my mind right now. How do we make people, and I mean everybody that works in crypto, make normal people understand what we are doing?
Okay, so you're talking about like mass adoption. You mean like how do we
like mass adoption?
How do we
because
create crypto? How would you make crypto mainstream, right?
Yeah, mainstream. Yeah, because we talk about all these concepts that are very interesting,
Right.
like those microchains and everything. But who really understands them between the people that are actually talking about? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, you could see that a lot of work that is done is to hide the details and just make crypto, like make blockchain technology invisible. I think that's the right approach. I mean, after all, there's no reason why people would have to know all those unless they want a self-custody, and they are already relatively tech savvy. But for most people, you wouldn't think that they are necessarily holding their keys. They're probably using providers. What you want is a sound ecosystem of providers that are competing, and with none of them really in position to extract too much value, and then maybe also removing intermediates compared to the usual financial system, and just also creating obviously an opportunity for innovation. So there's a continuity between traditional finance and crypto, and I'm relatively optimistic on the regulation side. So that's really the good news of the beginning of the year in the US, for instance, that we're going to have much better regulations very soon, and then the world should follow. I imagine follow suit. So that's the one aspect that's going to really help normalizing blockchain technologies and getting them mainstream. Because like right now, I think for institutions in particular, there was no way they were going to commit to use blockchain for some critical pieces of infrastructure if they are not sure about the regulatory environment. For instance, stablecoins. That's I think that was really holding it back, the whole entire field. I'm very optimistic on that front, on the regulations and on institutions. And then for when it comes to mass adoption and consumer apps. The jury is still out. I think we still haven't found really applications that really get people excited, other than casinos, online gambling, essentially meme coins gambling and trading. Yeah. So, but hopefully somebody's gonna come up with we're gonna see. I mean, obviously AI is a very popular theme where people think that crypto will help a lot. Honestly, I mean, it's further along, even further along than crypto alone, because suddenly not only you need all the tech to be of blockchain, the blockchain technology, you need all of that to be working perfectly, super scalable, super easy to use, super easy to program. But now you're adding a layer of AI, so AI agents, and now you need also AI agents to be really good. So combining the two is super interesting, but then it creates even more technological problems. And so I don't know if we're gonna have this year, but it's super interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of investments. People are really enthusiastic about this idea of bringing together AI and crypto.
Yeah, sounds like this is the future for all the humanity. I'm really looking forward to see how exactly. I mean, AI change our life. It changed mine, and this is just the beginning. So let's see in the 10 years what we're gonna have.
For sure.
Coming back to Linera, what's the hardest decision you've had to make since you started this dream of yours, Linera?
Okay. Well, choosing the VM was not obvious. Obviously, people ask us a lot, why did you choose that VM? There were a couple of options. Move, for instance, which would be natural coming from Facebook. But so I don't know if that was a hard decision, but it was definitely a decision. And then, yeah, just being bold on the tech, like creating our own vision for client-side development. I think that was pretty bold. In general, coming up with this completely new decentralized infrastructure has been really interesting. But of course, was a bold decision. Mm-hmm.
Where do you see Linera in 5 years, and what kind of role it will play in the broader blockchain ecosystem?
Yeah, so we because we are so different, there's a number of ways Linera can be successful, and so what I'm saying is that we don't need to replace Solana or Ethereum to be successful, because we are so different. We're very happy to work with other layer ones. Obviously, we wouldn't mind being relatively big and have like entire classes of applications running only on Linera. But if people are using Linera in a way that they create hybrid applications where they use another blockchain for I don't know, settlement or storage of value, and then they use Linera for the real time, the interoperability. So as a hub, I mean, there are different ways to use Linera that are like super interesting and very unique. So that's one avenue for us, and it's really nice to be able to do both. So in 5 years we want to be a piece. I mean, we want to be a piece of the internet infrastructure, fully decentralized and completely running on its own, and always up, obviously always up and running, nominal latency, nominal fees, just another piece of the infrastructure of the internet, except decentralized. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mathieu, we are entering the last chapter of the podcast, and we want to wrap things up with some rapid fire questions to get a sense of where your head's at when it comes to crypto. But for this one, just quick top of mind answers. What's a non-work related passion that you dive into?
Okay, so I'm a musician a little bit. I've been playing the saxophone my entire life, and a bit the piano, and studying jazz. It's kind of a lifelong project. When you're not a professional, try to play music well, and so it's been really fun.
Playing jazz in New York, that sounds really like your movie.
Yeah, it's the right place.
What's the most underrated and overrated idea in crypto right now?
Okay. Underrated. I think. Well, I mean, obviously, I don't know. I don't know if I should say. I think the microchains people are going to really realize that's super helpful and very new, and in particular for anything real time, anything that needs to communicate across many chains at very low latency. And I think we are still at the beginning in terms of having people realize that.
And overrated idea?
Okay, so I mean, I don't know. I think people are a bit coming back from layer 2s. So I don't know if overrated is a very strong word, but there's been definitely a lot of hype on layer 2s, and at the end of the day, the result, you got some very strong technology based on zero knowledge proofs or validity proofs. It's a bit expensive. Obviously, it's not going to be low latency, but it's very interesting. I think optimistic rollups are still a little controversial. So many of them don't have fraud proofs, so it means that the security is very questionable. The decentralization, at least, is very questionable. So yeah, but it's been said before. I don't necessarily need to insist on it.
Yeah. Favorite Web3 apps you actually use?
I like Coinbase Wallet. I have a number of things there.
What wallet?
I mean, I like the Coinbase Wallet. I'm just a regular user. I'm not a power user. Trying the craziest app when they arrive.
Yeah. What's one habit or routine that you swear by?
Okay. I don't know. I've been trying to finish showers with cold water for a while.
Oh, that's good. That's very good. What's a book or resource that has significantly influenced your thinking?
I mean, lately I've been reading this book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things.
Good title.
By Ben Horowitz. Really good book if you're an entrepreneur. Many books about entrepreneurship, they explain to you what to do to be successful. What I like about this book is they explain to you what's going to happen when you are struggling. And it's very liberating in a way, because everybody's struggling. I mean, the author obviously is a very famous investor and billionaire that's been very successful, and his entire book is peppered with stories of like really struggles and how he handled it. And it was like, yeah, that's part of the life of an entrepreneur. So it's a very interesting book, a very unique point of view.
What advice would you give to aspiring blockchain entrepreneurs?
What to read that book first. There are a number of books that are must reads. And then I would say I know that people like to drop out of college to become entrepreneurs. I mean, in my field, I'm not sure that. I think you need to. It's nice to be already relatively technical, and have also some credibility, some professional network that you can leverage. Really makes your life easier when it comes to hiring and obviously fundraising. But everybody has their own way, obviously.
That's all for today, Matthew. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. That was cool.
I wanna see those Microchains. Everybody talk to them in 2025.
All right. Okay. Everybody's gonna get a Microchain for sure. Everybody gets a Microchain.
Okay. Have a great one.
Have a good one. See you. Bye.